The book about Homebirth Cesarean is so vital to both moms and midwives and the people who care for women in the postpartum, because this type of birth prior to this didn't have a name, it didn't have a title, and it certainly didn't have anything written about it. This is about moms who planned an out-of-hospital birth but ended up transporting to the hospital and had a cesarean.
We want these women to have great births, and in our mind that often means having a birth at home. Mm-hmm. And so when a woman doesn't have that experience, when she ends up going to the hospital and having a cesarean, everything changes for her. Yeah, I feel like there's what I've described as the dark little secret of these women who go off into the world, and after they've had their unplanned for cesarean birth, they don't know where to go for support. They can't go to their midwives' home birth support, their home birth family mamas groups, because they didn't have a home birth. And so nobody wants to talk to them about their cesarean. And these women don't want to go to the hospital-based cesarean support groups because they said, I never wanted to be in the hospital to begin with. And so these women describe feeling like they weren't ever part of a club. There was no club that they could join for new moms. And how hard that was to feel isolated and that nobody wanted to hear their stories. In my experience of being a midwife, I felt like when I have a client who ends up having a cesarean, for me as the midwife, it's hard to go through that process with somebody.
And these moms, there's a disruption in their flow, their birth flow, and their plans, and sometimes it's really traumatic, and sometimes it's just really disappointing. And this book kind of focuses on that whole spectrum, and it also talks about how midwives and birth professionals can care for these moms.
There's some real challenges. Women need so much intensive care after they give birth, and it's hard to know that we're doing enough sometimes. And so that's part of the reason for writing this book, was to get that follow-up with women and to get their stories. Yeah. We want to hear about it.
Yeah, and to celebrate the Homebirth Cesarean stories, because these women need to be able to tell their story and be celebrated for it.